Good to see you. Hello, good afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, nobody's saying anything. We're going to make a start on this, the next 50 minutes on youth entrepreneurship. I'm just going to wait for some people to leave the room and then we'll get started. So true in the typical Babson style, we're not going to deliver a lecture on youth entrepreneurship. So what we gathered over here today is a panel of Babson alumni from Saudi Arabia, 3 from Bahrain over here. We're doing this program in Bahrain, so we had to get Bahrain alumni on the panel. And we're going to be talking about youth entrepreneurship. How have their education in entrepreneurship bring them where they are currently? So on the panel, we've got Professor Philip Kim, who is a professor at Babson College. Phil does a lot of teaching around the world with educators, but also entrepreneurs. I mean, you teach from China to Latin America, and also in the Middle East, because he teaches on all my programs I do here in the GCC countries. We've got Lulwa Al-Dusairi, who's come all the way from, well, across the bridge from Saudi Arabia. Lulwa is a MBA graduate from Babson. We've got Abdullah Fakro, who is a Bahraini. Abdullah did both his BS in entrepreneurship at Babson, but he also did his MBA in finance at Babson College. We've got Dana Jawahiri, who did her BS in entrepreneurship at Babson College, also Bahraini. And then we've got Noura Jamshir, who also did her BS in finance and investments and economics at Babson College. So before we get into this sort of question-answer session, and also we'll be taking a lot of questions from the floor, I just wanted to give you a brief snapshot on Babson College. So there's a different video to the one we showed previously, because this one is much shorter. So we'll start with that. So why Babson? I mean, how many of you have heard of Babson College? But we've got alumni on the floor as well in the audience, and the senior most alumni is here. Please stand up. You are? Joe Mahoney, 1974.
Am I the senior alum here? Thank you.
Who else do we have in the audience, Babson? I think I had invited some more people. Okay. Please, your name. And which year were you? Which year did you graduate from Babson? Okay, in executive. Thank you, welcome. So how many people have never heard of Babson? I mean, many people have not, so that's fine. Please raise your hand. Great. So hopefully in the next hour, we will be able to show you what little bit we're doing, not just in the States, but around the world, okay, through this presentation. So we'll start with a small video first, and then I'll show you.
Students must graduate from college more prepared to lead and shape a rapidly changing world. That was the problem Roger Babson set out to solve 100 years ago when he created the first college of its kind. On September 3rd, 1919, 27 students signed their names to a pledge to embark on business careers as a means of serving humanity.
Experience taught Roger Babson that the difference between success or failure depends solely on this: knowing when to say yes or no at the right moment. This is the right moment to confront the world's most pressing problems with what Babson does best: preparing entrepreneurs of all kinds to transform lives, businesses, and communities for the better.
As Babson's centennial year begins, we're asking you to join us as we embark on our next century.
Let's unite around a common cause.
To empower anyone with the make it happen mindset, with the ability to entrepreneur.
Our founder was the first to truly understand that the most powerful force for creating positive change is entrepreneurship.
100 years later, no other college prepares future change makers to lead the world like Babson.
Okay, that's an overview about Babson College. I realize I didn't introduce myself, so my name is Vinod Radhakisun. I'm Senior Director at Babson Executive Education, and I do a lot of programs over the MENA region. And any one of us will be more than happy to talk to you afterwards if there's any more questions or you want to engage Babson. So as you've heard, we only have 100 years of experience in entrepreneurship. Babson was created in 1919, and this year is our 100th anniversary. So what I normally say to people, you know, whatever the challenges that you have, 99.9% of the time, Babson will have a solution for you. We work with profit companies, non-profit companies, NGOs. We do entrepreneurship of all kinds. I mean, we don't distinguish between just profit. And many people think entrepreneurship is all just profit. No, it's also non-profit. It's also foundation work and so on that we do. So Babson College at a glance, again, founded in 1919. And Babson, we invented the methodology of entrepreneurship education nearly 50 years ago. Some notable alumni that we have at Babson College, apart from all these people who are here, notable as well, but I just wanted to put a few people. So you've heard of Toyota, the car, yeah? So Akio Toyoda did his undergrad degree at Babson. He will be at Babson for our 100th anniversary celebration in September. He'll be giving the commencement speech. And we're doing a lot of research, actually, with Toyota in artificial intelligence at Babson. Another person, maybe you've heard, those who've been in the States, of Home Depot, the hardware store. Yeah, anybody knows Home Depot? So Arthur Blank, who's the co-founder of Home Depot, he did his undergrad and also his MBA at Babson. Last but not least, our own Minister of Finance of Bahrain, Sheikh Salman bin Khalifa, did his BS in Finance and Investment from Babson College. So Bahrain, you've got a big legacy with Babson as well. The last thing I want to show you is, I don't know whether you know of these terms, AACSB, EQUIS. We are triple accredited. We are one of the 3 universities in the United States that has got all these 3 accreditations. We take this very seriously. We never cut corners in the education we provide, and we will not compromise our values the way we teach entrepreneurship across the globe. So as I said, we educate entrepreneurs of all kinds. Our mission at Babson College is to educate entrepreneurial leaders who will create economic and social value. As you can see, social value. Social is very important. We have to give back. It's not all profit-making and so on. And our vision, we want to be known as the institution in the world for entrepreneurial thought and action, and that's basically our secret sauce. That's our DNA. Anybody who's been at Babson, they know what ETNA is, because that's how we differentiate ourselves from others. And we want to put the power of entrepreneurship as a force of economic and social value is in as many hands as possible around the world, and hence the kind of work I do in the Middle East, in Africa, in India, in Eurasia, and so on. And I've got similar colleagues like mine who are doing work in China, Far East, Latin America as well. So a few facts about entrepreneurship at Babson. All our students have to take entrepreneurship courses. They join Babson for entrepreneurship. 35% of our students come from family business. 45% of our alumni, they will start a business after they graduate from Babson. It might not be straight away, but within 5 years, on average, it's 45 to 50%. We only have 120 courses of entrepreneurship at Babson. 100% of our faculty have entrepreneurial experience. This is very important. Irrespective of where you come, you might come from the best universities around the world. To teach at Babson, you have to prove to us that, 1, you've had a business, you failed in a business, or you have consulting experience. Nobody at Babson, including Professor Kim, they all have, before they come to Babson, show us that they've been in business. How can you teach something if you yourself hasn't done it? And Babson, it's all about action learning. So we do something called the GEM report, the GEM study, where 70 to 80 countries around the world take part in this exercise, where we give the health of the entrepreneurship ecosystem of the country. Currently in the Middle East, only 2 countries take part. One is Qatar, the other one is Saudi Arabia. In the past 35 years, we've trained more than 6,000 educators from 1,300 academic institutions from 80 countries. So we also teach how to teach entrepreneurship. Babson has got its special way of teaching entrepreneurship, and we teach the teachers. Actually, Phil is one of the most sought after educators. I mean, we do these programs in China, all over the world, and we also teach these different institutions because we can't do it all. So we adopt this train-the-trainer model where we will impart knowledge, and then you can go and basically train entrepreneurs in your country and so on. So we know that the world is constantly changing and evolving. And to have success, it requires innovation. Innovation across sectors, across regions in the world. And you can transform your company. You can transform the industry or even the country by learning how to act on opportunities and drive innovation using this entrepreneurial leadership skills that is taught by Babson College, but also by other institutions around the world. All these people over here in a few minutes will tell you how they've used the education they've received at Babson to launch all sorts of ventures, family business, their own business, and so on. So again, at Babson, we believe in entrepreneurs of all kinds. We don't distinguish. I mean, I do a lot of work in the Middle East in social entrepreneurship, let's say. It's not all for profit. We also do public sector, private sector. A lot of companies, Fortune 500 companies, they come to us at Babson because they want to create what we call intrapreneurship in companies. Even companies, pharma companies, they've got incubators within the company. So we do provide entrepreneurship education across the board. And also over here, point number 2, entrepreneurship is often associated with startups, venture capital, and incubators. However, it's actually the mindset that can be effectively applied in any setting or profession. Especially in the Middle East, we have to get the mindset change first. If we can change the mindset, we will be able to achieve economic growth through ecosystem work that most of the countries over here want to achieve and other countries around the world. So I've been through this. We educate undergrad, grad, corporate leaders, educators, nonprofits, and so on. And very quickly, our student population comes from 80 countries. We've got locations. Our main campus is in Wellesley, Massachusetts, which is 45 minutes from Boston. We've got campus in San Francisco, in Miami, and also we just opened a hub in Dubai for the Middle East. Our alumni group are from 115 countries worldwide, and we've got faculty like Phil, who basically will teach around the world. So the education you'll receive, it's as if you are in the US. We don't use local faculties. We will bring the faculty from US to teach in any part of the world. Just a few rankings and recognitions. I don't need to go through all these. Babson has been voted #1 school for entrepreneurship, I think for like 23 or 24 years in a row. For MBA in entrepreneurship, again, we're #1. Same for, we got some accolade for executive education. And the reason, people ask us, why are you ahead of MIT? Why are you ahead of Harvard? I mean, these are very good institutions, but the way we teach entrepreneurship, all these alumni who are here, they all went through the same process when they joined Babson, which is very unlike other places, and I'll let them talk about this afterwards when we come into the Q&A session. So evolution of Babson, in 1919 through the videos, there were 27 students who took a pledge to embark on a business career as a means of rendering service to humanity. Now in 2019, our purpose is to educate entrepreneurial leaders who can create great economic, social, and economic value. But for the next 100 years, 2020, we are embarking on a mission of putting entrepreneurship in the hands of as many people as we can. And for our 100th anniversary, we've got 3 main mandates. Basically, it's to drive social impact around the world, strengthen family entrepreneurship. We found through research that typically family businesses tend to fail after the sort of 2nd to 3rd generation. And that's a real loss we want to basically come in and make sure that those businesses can go through various generations down the line. And we've got programs where we bring the father, mother, son, and daughter in the same setting, work together to find how we can bridge the gap to make sure that these family businesses can go on and on. The last one, we believe in women a lot. I mean, Babson College, our president is a woman, our chairperson is a woman as well. I work in a department where there's 35 people, I'm one of 5 men. So, and all the ladies who are here can also talk about this. So we want to put entrepreneurship for women around the world, you know, educate more women around the world. They could be blue-collar workers or white-collar workers. We want to basically lead with women entrepreneurship. And then youth also falls into that category because there's a lot of unemployment around the world for the youth. And many countries will come to us and say, what can we do for the youth of today? You know, in some parts of the world, I mean, January I was in Medina, Saudi Arabia. We've put entrepreneurship education in high schools. We've chosen 20 boys' schools, 20 girls' schools, and we've chosen the schools which are more remote. Not the rich schools, but the schools that are mostly underserved. And through entrepreneurship, they'll find a way out. And if this works, they're going to be putting this across the Medina region. So we are doing a lot on youth entrepreneurship, be it in the States or even across the globe. So are you ready to make an impact in the world through entrepreneurial leadership skills and whatever you've seen over the past 3 days? And hopefully now we will open the questions and answers, and we'll get the alumni over here to answer some questions. So Professor Kim will lead from now onwards, and we'll also invite some questions from the floor. Thank you.
So what I'm going to do now is speak to our notable alums who have joined me here on the platform and to get their insights about this important topic of youth entrepreneurship. According to statistics, over 40% of the world's population is young, under 25 years. And in some countries, that proportion is much higher. And so as leaders in entrepreneurship, we believe that we need to educate our youth, empower our youth, and help our youth to make good decisions about their careers and use entrepreneurship as a force for change. And so what I want to ask our 4 alums sitting with me here on the panel is, what did you learn at Babson? What did you learn from your courses, from your professors, from interacting with your classmates that transformed the way you approach life with an entrepreneurial mindset? And how have you used that in your careers so far? Nora, would you like to start first? Can we get her mic to increase, please? Yes. Yeah.
So I graduated from Babson 20 years ago.
Not yet, sorry. Getting a backup mic.
It's okay.
Hi. Professor, to answer your question, I actually graduated from Babson 2 decades ago, so it's been a while, and I'm sure Babson today is quite different from Babson in the 90s. But I have to say, 20 years after I've graduated from Babson, I think my time in Babson was a valuable investment in who I am today. And the reason I say that is that the way things happened in Babson were completely different from how my classmates, how actually my friends studied in other universities around Boston, so I'm not, without naming any other university. We did things differently. I'm talking about 20 years ago. We were, like, I remember, for example, in statistics, we didn't have a book. We were doing case studies on computers and generating models, etc. And back then I was thinking, oh my God, I don't have a textbook. How am I going to know what this means and what that means? And we were in the lab 24 hours a day, and and then 10 years after that, this was like this became the model that was adapted by all other universities. I was thinking, oh my God, we were like at the cutting edge of innovation. The same thing in other courses, like in strategy, in operations management. You know, we were not learning from a textbook. We were gaining tools that are so valuable for us today, and this is why we are now, as a Babson graduate, I'm able to adjust to any situation because I have tools. I don't have, right now, education, I can go to Google and I can find out everything that I need, but it's basically how do I take these tools and bring them together and make them work for me. I mean, I still remember a topic that we had to do for business strategy that was done like when I was a senior, and the question was out of context back then, but basically it was something, what is going to happen on the digital information highway? And we were thinking, you know, back then, I think we didn't even have, I mean, of course, there were laptops, but there were no smartphones or whatsoever. But we had to think about the questions that are being asked today 20 years ago. So this is how valuable the Babson education was for me personally. It wasn't a textbook type of education. It was more of an experience, more of building tools that are still applicable today.
It was hands-on, practical.
Absolutely, 100% hands-on. I mean, some courses were 100% hands-on. Yeah.
So the one takeaway from your experience is that your learning was action-oriented, it was very practical, and even 20 years later, you still remember vividly the experiences from the classroom. Great, thank you. Donna?
Does this work?
Yes.
Well, what I remember from my freshman year, many things, but the most prevalent one was my FME course, the freshman management experience, being thrown with a bunch of people from your class who you don't even recruit and you don't know anything about, and you have to just go straight into managing a business and running a business for 1 year in Babson. That really resonated, and it developed many skills. One of the most important things that I've taken from Babson is being a key team player and working in a very multi-dynamic atmosphere and environment. And I actually didn't always work in a business organization. I had the skills to manage academics, oil and gas, energy, which I have no clue. I don't know anything about. And now I'm in fitness and well-being. So you don't necessarily have to go into accounting or finance. You're so well trained that you can jump into any sector with confidence and manage.
So what we can learn from your experience is enabling our youth to be able to take their knowledge and apply them into wide-ranging situations and scenarios so that they can succeed in whatever endeavors that they pursue.
So just to pick on what Dana was saying, at Babson College in your first year of study, you have to open a business. We give the students money and they have to open a business. That's compulsory, and nowhere else, I think, in the world does that. So they are thrown in the deep end. So during the day, they're studying like any other college. In the evenings, you're working on your business. They go from ideation, they will produce a product, service. Any profit that's made out of those ventures, we give to charity. Any loss that they make, we will incur. We embrace failure. And that's a mindset thing also in many jurisdictions, because many places they will look at failure as being bad. No. If you look at Alibaba, where he is today, everybody talks about the success, but you know how many times he failed? So we have to embrace failure, and that's one of the differentiators at Babson. Many people say, how come for 25 years in a row your programs are #1? And all those people quote Harvard, MIT, but that's because we do things differently. You know, it's a bit like if you go to see a doctor. If there's a doctor that studied medicine, but only from the books, and they've passed the exam, but there's a doctor who's worked on patients, who are you going to go and see? So why should it be different in business? Why should we teach something that we can't even show them the way? So anyway, that's what Dana was saying about the FME program.
Great, thank you, Vinod. So we're going to turn to Abdullah. And I'd like to also ask the same question. If you can reflect on your Babson experience, how has that impacted your career and your journey? And you come from a slightly different perspective, and maybe you can mention the integration of your family business background as well.
Okay. So yeah, as you said, I wear two hats. I work with my family business, and I'm also an entrepreneur. When we were in college, you spend about 4 years gathering all this information. Today, almost 20 years from when I started, most of that you forget. But what I feel sticks with you is the structure, the way you think structurally, you decision making. You use a lot of these business tools which are taught while at Babson to take almost automatic decisions. And for me, one of the differences between Babson and at the time many of my friends who went to other schools was, as my colleagues also mentioned, there was a lot of teamwork. One thing which sticks in my head is the FME program, because you come out of, for us, we came from a new country, fresh out of high school, and as you said, you're thrown in the deep end with, you have no business experience, and they give you some capital, and they tell you to start your own business. Meanwhile, people in other colleges are doing the basic courses like maths and fundamental courses. And that's where I think the difference is that the learning is more experiential, and it's more hands-on. You have another difference is like most classes I was used to seeing were huge lectures halls with 100, 200 people. When we went to Babson, the maximum number of students per class was about 30 maybe. And you had direct interaction with professors, with your colleagues, and it was much more productive, I think. And all these things I carry with me today. The details you forget, but these things, the experience stays with you.
So what we can take away from your comment is putting our youth in situations where they have to interact and dialogue and discuss and wrestle with ideas that might be different than what they're used to, so that they're prepared to do this as they move on in their careers. Great. So I'll turn now to Lula. I believe you're our most recent alum, graduating 3 or 4 years ago with her MBA. Again, if you can share a little bit about what you took away from your Babson experience and how that's applied to your career.
Sure. I share a bit with Abdullah's background, which is working in my family business and starting my own company. Prior to Babson, I didn't know what entrepreneurship meant. It's something that was foreign to me. I didn't know that you as a person are capable of starting a business. And I was such a shy person. I would never be the person like this today. I would never talk in public or pitch in public. But when I did my MBA program, I challenged myself and I participated in the pitch competition, won the pitch competition, was accepted to the accelerator in Babson, started my own business in Babson while I was doing my MBA. And when I moved back to the region, I continued working in my business. I joined my family business as well in digital transformation, because as my background is in information technology, and I decided that my vision in life is to provide technology as a solution for social impact, no matter where I was. So I was exposed to being an owner, a leader, and to be an entrepreneur as well. That all, if it hasn't, been for my education in Babson, I wouldn't have done all of that through the span of 4 or 5 years.
Great, thank you. And so from your experience, we can learn that it's so important to give our youth new role models, new examples of how they can have different kinds of jobs, different positions in their careers that you might not have imagined being able to do, and having the confidence to pursue them by practicing and making mistakes in a safe environment. So I'm going to turn to our second question, and then now specifically focused on youth and entrepreneurship. I would imagine for most of our young people, starting a business might not be the natural pathway to their careers, unless they grow up in a family business where that is front and center. Instead, they might have other possibilities or no possibility at all, depending on their life circumstances and where they live. And so the question is, what advice would you have for those who work with our youth, either directly in some capacity, in education or in social services or in a policy-making role? What advice can you share with our audience about how they can encourage, they can inspire, they can motivate our youth to pursue entrepreneurship as a viable career path? So I'll turn to Noura once again to start us off.
The one thing that I would tell a youth entrepreneur is just knowing basically how hard it is to start a business, and the legal frameworks, etc. And there's so many hurdles. I mean, nothing goes as planned. That's a fact, kind of. But what you need to believe in yourself and keep on going. And if a door closes, it's for the best, and just try another door. And this is how I think the biggest companies came around. And I can't say it enough. Basically, believe in yourself and just keep on going.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Am I on?
I think it's good.
Am I? Okay. I think I would advise the youth to please wear as many shoes as you can. Am I on? Yeah? Yeah. Try on as many shoes as you can. It's okay to work in different positions and different sectors. You actually take so much from that. It's good to be a trainee, even if you're a trainee for a pretty long time, which kind of was my case in Bahrain. When I graduated, it was kind of a fashion to hire people as trainees for an indefinite number of months until you actually got a secure job. But that was absolutely fine. It's good to know what it's like to be a trainee. It's good to be in entry-level positions, working as assistants, directors, managers, consultants. Because tomorrow when you want to recruit your own team for your own business, you'll remember all the shoes that you were in, and you'll be able to guide them in the areas where you need guidance at one point and you didn't have it. And you'll lead them the way you were led in areas that helped you to grow. And I think this is something that sets leaders apart from each other, is having that compassionate side of you and really understanding what it's like to be in the other person's place. And the only way to know that is if you were actually there once upon a time.
For me, for someone just starting up, I would say not to rush and to just start a business for the sake of starting a business. I think it's okay to wait. I think one of the mistakes a lot of people out of college, or especially out of business school, they try to run and prove a point and start a business. And for me, I waited almost 10 or 12 years until I started my first business, and I believe that was a good decision because you learn a lot by experience also, and opportunities also come with time, and when the right opportunity appears, you'll know it, and you'll take it. Another thing I would advise is always to have a mentor, especially for an entrepreneur on his first business, is to look to others who are more experienced and who have industry experience to guide you, and to also don't be afraid to fail. So the previous speaker talked about in B2C companies, the likelihood of a failed startup is around 95%. So there is a very big likelihood that your business will not work, but it's okay. You do it and you move on and you start over. So I think that's generally.
Great, thank you.
To me, I would look at the journey I had in my own business, Artistia.com, an e-commerce platform for local brands in the region. I would say that fear of competition, don't be fearful of having competition, because if you're a true entrepreneur, you would innovate, and innovation is not in the idea, it's in how you execute the idea, and constantly executing creatively in different ways, and being flexible to changing your revenue streams or your business model. So being a lean startup, and if you're in a similar position to me, which is funding, I didn't even go through the cycle of banks and loans and investors. I didn't even go through the 3 F's, which is friends, families, and fans, not fools. I believed, or my team and I believed, that there is an opportunity in learning from competitions where they would offer grants. And if we won, we would get that capital. So we participated in so many competitions, and we lost so many of them, but we benefited from the network we had in the competitions, the mentorship we had, the training, all of that went back to our business, and we learned from our failure. And then we won competitions. And then we got funding, and then we were able to start and launch the company, and now ready for investment.
So we've heard many wonderful insights from our alumni panel here. I'm going to give now a chance for all of you in the audience, if you have questions to ask of our panelists, or myself or Vinod, please use the microphone, and let's have a conversation with all of you.
Hello? Yes. So it was interesting for me to hear that at Babson University, you give the student the mindset, the right mindset. And you said that one of the ways is to embrace failure. So can you tell us other ways to give the right mindset so we can apply it in other universities or in schools? What is the other ways you do it to give the students the right mindset?
Maybe we can ask our panelists, what do you remember from your time at Babson that could address our colleagues' question? Please.
Hello? In Babson, it's about thinking like a leader, not a manager. Most programs, they teach you how to be manager and, a leader is different because there's an initiative. There's taking an initiative, coming up, motivating people, motivating your team, constantly coming up with new idea, being more of a diplomat, or changing leadership styles. So that was key in Babson's education. It's thinking like a leader.
It's an interesting question. I think once you show someone that you forget about the academics, forget about teaching them the ABCs, and just throw them in a situation, and those and basically they will learn. They will go and acquire their necessary skill sets that they need in order to survive. So I guess actually the answer would be teach skills and tools rather than from a textbook. Be innovative. Do different things. It can be a class in a classroom one day, it can be a class somewhere outdoor in a mall, and always think outside the box. I think that's the key.
Anyone else? Okay, next question.
Is it on? Yep. Thank you very much. Professor, I'd like to ask the panel to reflect on Vinod's efforts to bring entrepreneurship programs to youth, pre-college. It is something that the charity that I started in Bermuda does. We bring entrepreneurship programs into the school systems, and we're revising the enterprise education programs within the schools to be more entrepreneurial. But I would like to know from the Babson alumni how they think, how young might you recommend that we go with youth entrepreneurship?
Very interesting question, and actually this is a passion for me, and I've been following a lot about what's happening. There is a mall in Bahrain called Nakhil Mall, and there is such a program for kids that are in first grade, second grade. So if you're going to ask me what age should they be in, there's no age. As soon as they're ready, as soon as they have that passion, and it's about someone believing in them and fostering the idea. Yeah, this is what I have to say. So it's happening here in Bahrain.
Other thoughts?
Yeah. I agree. I mean, it's very important at a young age to start. I noticed this in we see in American culture. It's you see a lot of young, teenagers starting their own small businesses, whatever, selling lemonade or this is part of the culture. I think it's important that this is ingrained in high school people at the high school level. I would say around the 8th grade, maybe 7th or 8th grade, where you would start introducing some of these classes, even if it's part of an elective or something, where a student or a high school student has the opportunity, if they're interested, to learn more about business. I think it's very important.
For me, Babson does volunteering trips abroad. And I volunteered in Rwanda to teach high school students entrepreneurship. That was a tremendous experience. And the winner of the pitch got a scholarship to Babson. So that's a way to encourage youth. As for Saudi Arabia, in King Abdullah Economic City, Babson was selected as a partner to develop a business and entrepreneurship university called Mohammed bin Salman School, College of Business and Entrepreneurship. And I also was part of that. I worked with Babson Global in developing that. And that's another way to bring maybe our generation of youth closer to entrepreneurship. Because in Saudi, there's a big gap in education. Education is done traditionally, not as a critical thinking kind of centric in the classrooms. So bringing that kind of education where there's a discussion in the classroom, opinions are shared, there's no right or wrong answer, that's very important, not only to the high school students, but also to undergrad, graduate level as well.
I can say in the efforts I'm leading in the Middle East, this year in January, we have trained around about 60 school teachers in Medina province through the blessing of Prince Faisal Prince Saud, Vice Governor of the Medina region. We've introduced entrepreneurship education, year-long curriculum in high schools. And again, with the Princes, we chose the sort of less rich schools, all the kids who are in remote schools, because we want to show them a way out of where they are through entrepreneurship. That's high school. For 3 years in a row, I've been doing a program in Kuwait with youth as young as 12 on a 6-week program. And this is social entrepreneurship, which is run by Loyak. If people know, they've got chapters in Palestine, in Egypt, in Kuwait. And the mandate there for the kids as young as 12 is to come up with a solution that they can put back into society straight away on social entrepreneurship. Now, you might say, you know, all these programs cost money, but the way they've done it, they've had sponsors. National Bank of Kuwait, Zain Telecom, they sponsor these programs. And we've been running 4 years in a row, and next month I'm back there. Now we're going to innovate on the program. We're going to bring a different aspect of the program because it's gaining momentum. But as the panel has said, you know, start as young as possible. But you also have to be realistic, because in entrepreneurship there's an element of finance, and it all depends upon the appreciation of the person, if they understand the finance, because without finance you can't grow the business and so on. But I think from what I've seen in the Middle East, you know, as young as 11, 12, in fact in Loyak they are always trying to reduce the age, and I'm trying to say, look, professors are going to come and teach as well. The concepts needs to be understood also by a certain age. It's also understanding. So I know you are leading in Bermuda for the youth. I mean, what's your perspective on things?
I think everybody can hear me. Our focus is middle school, because there is middle school works for us because there is a curriculum requirement for business essentials. So I have a curriculum in the school. I mean, I have a time slot in each of the 3 years of middle school. So that's what I'm focused on. But we will trickle that back into primary. And then as those middle schoolers get to high school, they're going to be a demand. The idea is get these kids to think about it. And when they get to senior school, there's going to be a demand for them to take classes, so then you can have some electives. But that's 13, 14, and 15. I do business camps. I've been doing business camps in Bermuda since 2000. So we've put over 1,000 children through our business camps. And it's just remarkable. The 12-year-olds will win the business plan competition just as much as the 15-year-old. But the mindset is critical. But yeah, I commend Babson and what you're doing with the entire movement, because that then, for Babson, it's the feeder program. But more importantly, it's the way to grow the economy. So commendable.
No, thank you. And all these programs that we do in the Middle East, thank you to the alumni, because they come and participate as well in all these countries, and they also help to propel, you know, the methodology of teaching entrepreneurship in all these different countries.
So I just wanted to add one more comment, and then I think we're going to have to wrap up our session. One question I always ask my students and other participants in the courses that I teach is, when you were a young person, when you were a child, think back to the times when you were at school. Did you have moments of creativity? And in most cases, the hands would go up. When we were young and children, in schools or at home, we would play, we would imagine, we would create things with materials. But as we grow older, that creativity gets constricted and snuffed out. And so what I also want to encourage is that let's use what's in the educational system already. That we do teach our kids about creativity. It happens at a young age. Let's try to encourage that methodology and curriculum to continue as they grow older, rather than having to always introduce something new or foreign and fight against the inertia that exists to keep new things out of the things that we normally do. So I hope this session was inspirational to... Okay, we only have 1 minute. Yes, please, go ahead.
Hello. My name is Mashail Jamal. I'm from Saudi Arabia. I'm an entrepreneur. I do have an e-learning platform for females to learn languages, especially English and French. So my question is, now we started and I established my company since 2009. So now we have been for like 10 years in the market. I've seen a lot of competition come and go. So my question is that a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people actually want to be entrepreneurs, but they don't know how to deal with failure. And they will immediately stop and they will like, let me go to an ordinary job. I don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore at the first challenge, the first failure. So my question is like, how can entrepreneurs help themselves to overcome that failure and still be able to stay in the market with the changing economy? Because everything changes, like war happens. For example, if I lose the internet, I lose my business. So things change. How can entrepreneurs stay with the changing economy, the changing situations? Thank you very much.
It's a great question. Would any of our panelists like to answer?
The funny thing, as an entrepreneur, you don't have the luxury of having someone forcing you to go to work. You have to find your own motivation to wake up in the morning and to overcome your downturns, your fears, everything in life, and motivate yourself and motivate those around you. So this is, I think, a differentiating factor that makes entrepreneurs probably an essential block of an economy. So overcoming failure, and I think that type of mindset that you're talking about is not everyone can get adjusted to that. And a lot of people, just like you said, at the first sign of weakness, they'll find a job, and basically they'll go back into the system. And that's okay, because who knows, they might come back again into the whole field. But it again goes back to believing in yourself. That's what I was saying earlier, is basically an entrepreneur has to be a believer, and a real core believer in what they're doing, because financial troubles are going to be there, logistical troubles are going to be there, and unless that person is really determined and really believes in themselves, they're not going to be able to face downturns or hurdles, or they'll be weakened by the whole process. But as long as that kind of the engine is working, and you find yourself motivating, then for sure there's going to be a way. Something is going to happen, and this is what entrepreneurs do. They create new doors and they create new opportunities.
So with that final comment of inspiration, we're going to have to draw our session to a close. So thank you so much to our panelists. Thank you for the engaging questions. If you have further dialogue, please let's continue the conversation, but we're going to draw this session to a close. So thank you.
I would like to also thank Temkeen for providing this platform. I would like to thank the Minister of Finance, who we met last year and encouraged us to be in Bahrain. Thank you very much. And also GC for providing this platform for Babson to be here. Thank you all, and thank you, the audience, for participating. Thank you.